It's a brave new world in Standard right now, and this deck just might really blow. Hey everybody, Maria from Good Luck High Five here, and I've got a Standard deck of the week that I really want to talk about. I've been playing it pretty much non-stop. It's like burning that first pumpkin-scented candle of fall. Pure, unadulterated, high-octane awesome. I lead a very exciting life. Anyway, if you're the kind of person that likes to right-click, click, or, just attack all the old-fashioned way, but you don't like dying when you run out of cards after dumping them all on the board by turn 3, then Boros Bugler just might be the deck for you. Lots of versions of this deck have been running around since Guilds of Ravnica released, and my take on it comes from this 5.0 deck list from Magic Online. One caveat before I go any further, the format is still very new and changes will be happening every day. This deck tech is intended as a starting point for you. Feel free to experiment with the deck and with the sideboard as much as you want because Standard is far from solved. I'll also say that lots of different Boros builds exist right now, from packing your deck full of angels to playing Teacher with Mentor to going way low to the ground with cards like Hunted Witness. The Legion is running hot, and this is only one flavor of red-white. This deck is great because it's designed to be a classic Boros beatdown deck using cards like Adanto Vanguard and History of Benalia. But it can also switch gears and become slightly more controlling using tools like Aurelia Exemplar of Justice and excellent removal like Justice Strike and Lava Coil. And of course the deck's namesake, Militia Bugler. Also, most of the cards you'll play really demand an answer from your opponent, so they'd better have quite a few answers in their hand, or they're gonna be dead. Let's start out with our 2-mana creatures. This deck runs 4 Adanto Vanguard, my favorite card in Standard, which swings in for 3 and can become indestructible, which is pretty tricky for a bunch of decks to deal with. Like, don't even mess with me, Ritual of Soot. Just like, don't even mess with me. It runs 4 Knight of Grace, which has Hexproof and Black. The awesomeness of that cannot be understated. And First Strike, which is super helpful versus other aggro strategies like Mono Red. It also runs 4 Boros Challenger, which comes with the benefit of 3 toughness and a pump ability that can help mentor your smaller creatures later in the game. At 3 mana is the bro with the bugle himself, Militia Bugler. Why is he so great? Well, he's the exact reason I want to play this build of Boros over any other build that doesn't run him. If you find yourself lacking in card advantage a few turns in, he shows up and can find you any creature in your deck. But most importantly, he can find you Aurelia. More about her later. He also has Vigilance, which is way more important than you'd think. Every time I play with this card, it just feels great. I really don't want to play any Aurelia deck without it. At 3, we have 2 copies of Legion Warboss, which really puts the pressure on your opponent and kind of demands an answer ASAP. At 4 is the reason for the season, 4 copies of Aurelia Exemplar of Justice. She's just so great. In fact, she's so great that if she weren't in my deck, I would hate her. That's how great she is. So I've just decided to be on her side. For one thing, Militia Bugler finds her. For another, she always has an immediate effect on the board as long as you have at least 1 creature out, which, let's get real, you do. This usually enables a profitable swing if you didn't already have one, and puts your opponent to some pretty tough decisions. She has Mentor when she decides to attack and can grant Vigilance and Trample. I mean, what the heck else do you want? Her firstborn child? I don't know if angels can have children. Is that a thing? Is that a thing angels do? Hey Megan, can angels have children? Is that a thing? Here's something else sweet about her. 5 toughness. Most of the time your opponents will have to spend 2 removal spells to get rid of her, and by then the damage has probably already been done. She's great if you're developing your board, when you're ahead, when you're at parity, or when you're behind, which is the exact recipe for an A+ bomb.com. At 5 mana, we have 2 copies of Siege Gang Commander, which can end games all on its own, or end anything on the board you need to end, really. Your removal comes in the form of 3 excellent cards, 2 Justice Strike, which, side note, should really be called Stop Hitting Yourself, 2 Lava Coils, great for taking down phoenixes that look suspiciously like owls, 2 Ixalan's Binding, which can deal with any matter of threat and stop more in the future. You also get to run 4 History of Benalia, which is gas, and I don't even need to tell you about the sheer joy of chaining these bad boys one turn after the other. I'm super stoked to be running 2 copies of everyone's favorite kitty cat friend, a Johnny, Adversary of Tyrants. On turn 4, this cool cat can be absolutely back-breaking for your opponent, plussing to add counters to your creatures, or even minusing to get something back from the graveyard. If you play on Arena, he also has great little motivational sayings like, "See for yourself what I see in you," or "You should be proud that you've come so far," which, frankly, we could all stand to hear every once in a while. Just remember to scoop his poops. A quick glance at the sideboard, which is sure to undergo many iterations. I'll just point out a few things. The Banefire comes in versus Control, which, to be honest, this deck does have a little bit of trouble with, as does Experimental Frenzy, which can single-handedly win you games you definitely should have lost. Shieldmare is excellent versus anything red, and Direfleet Daredevil can buy back your Izzet opponent's spells, or even stuff like a Vraska's Contempt. So there you have it, Boros Bugler. The other great thing about this deck is that it really plays itself right out of the box. It's incredibly intuitive and makes for a lot of fun games because you're winning them. Let me know if you've played this deck or another version of Boros, and tell me how you've liked it in the comments.